Okay, I note we are joined by our liaison, Secretary of State's office, our legal counsel, Mr. Camphouse and Mr. Hicks, which is a segue into our public participation part of the agenda. If anybody from the public wants to address the board, you have 5 minutes. I assume, Mr. Hicks, that's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. So, and I handed out a visual aid. So, and I always tell people with my the pervasive dislike of me in many places in this county, I always say, first thing when I bring something up is to step back and ask yourself, does he actually have a point? Okay. So what I have here is in my visual aids is my certificate of election when I was elected to be a committeeman in the Republican Party, and then on page 2 of what I handed out, I have an excerpt from the Secretary of State's manual. What are the qualifications of office to be a member of a county central committee? Must be an elector residing in the election precinct, city, ward, or township from which elected, as determined by the outgoing committee. Notice the word elected used several times there. And a reference to the Ohio Constitution, Article 15, Section 4, no person shall be elected or appointed to any office in the state unless possessed of the qualifications of an elector. And I put down here, that means a 101. Basically, it means you cannot be in a statutorily defined position where you do not meet the qualifications. I couldn't be appointed a township trustee if I don't live in the township. I can't be appointed to a school board if I don't live in the school district, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you flip to page 3, for sake of time here, this is revised code section 3.02 that says, and I highlighted the relevant parts, Board of Elections shall issue a certificate of appointment to the appointee when somebody gets appointed to an office. So I requested a couple of certificates for people that have been appointed to the role of committeeman. I got a response from Ms. Height after she got the list updated, saying she was going to send the certificates for those people, okay? By the way, the certificate is a prescribed form, 155B, which is on page 4 of this document. And then if you flip to page 5, I have pulled section 351705 of the revised code that talks about what happens, how committee positions become open. And they become open vacancies caused by death, resignation, failure to elect, removal from the precinct, ward, or township, or district from which the committee was chosen, the controlling committee, or if authorized, blah, 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 okay, shall fill the position. So here's why this has actually been brewing for some time. Actually, there's been probably a 3 to 5 month analysis project going on. Over 5,000 committeemen across the entire state, only on the Republican side. And it turns out that we are one of only 2 counties that we can determine in the entire state of Ohio that allows for, and I don't know what the Democrats in Clermont County do, but that has a situation where people get appointed to central committees that are not qualified electors. And we have even weirder situations where people are appointed to precincts that aren't even the same school district they're in, for example. So they're theoretically representing something where they can't even vote on the things that come before that precinct themselves. So we did an analysis for another purpose, and I never even thought about this until it came up, and then I started talking to some people in other counties, and I actually got responses like, we always thought it was super weird what goes on in Clermont County, that it's not constitutional. Okay, from other counties telling me this. So and I put a bullet point on page 5 too, is when you think about it, I don't want you to confuse, because a lot of political parties define separate from the statutory position the concept of an ad hoc member of the committee that has limited rights. For example, they cannot vote on the appointment of a replacement in a public office like we had here with the engineer appointment, when by case law, those people are then public officials when that happens, but ad hoc members can't do that. That's a different thing. Some counties have ad hoc members that have special or different rights, lesser rights, than a regular committeeman. So my point here, ultimately with this group, is the need to have the certificate, because the certificate becomes a trigger, either, and I think right now probably if you don't issue it or you issue it, I think it should be issued, so then it drives the point of, we got to find out if this is correct or not. And if we care about, my fellow Republicans here, if we care about the Constitution and following the law, we should want this to be properly adjudicated when we're only one of 2 counties in the entire state on the Republican side that have this practice of appointing people that are not qualified electors into the committee. Last point I want to make, how am I doing on time?
By my rough calculation, you've got a little over a minute.
Okay, good. So the last thing I put on here is, We also can't selectively follow the law. We can't selectively follow the law. My Republican colleagues, we yell at people about the people selectively following the law. And the last page I put here is Ohio Revised Code Section 3.22 is about having to take an oath of office. The funny part is within the Republican Party, I don't know about the Democrats, but we actually cite on our agendas that we're obligated to follow ORC 3.22. We actually administer the oath of office, and the last time it happened, who administered the oath of office to people? Our prosecutor, Mark DeCalby, at which time he also administered the oath of somebody who does not live in the precinct that they were appointed to represent, does not have the qualifications of an elector. So my whole point is, with all this is that I think it's something that is an important issue for our county. There's a lot of negative externalities. I sent some other stuff to you guys of what happens when it actually creates a situation that encourages people not to have people seek committee posts so that they can then appoint friends and family, and wait till you see the list of who are all the people that are in that category in Clermont County, at least on the Republican side. Thank you, and I apologize if I went over by a few seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Yeah, they say don't go share them.
Can I ask you guys a question?
They literally take you on.
So is it your intent if somebody comes in here and asks for their certificate of appointment to
Yeah.
issue some sort of denial to them?
Yeah, they have like the worst.
I don't know if we figured out an intent on that or not.
Okay, so how do you want to do it? Because there's some people are going to come in and ask for their certificate of appointment. So when they ask, what's, you know, what you're going to do, and then what's going to happen from that, because it's going to get adjudicated one way or the other. So this question just, is there going to be a denial
Oh, you're right.
to issue a certificate, or is there going to be an issuance of a certificate? Either way.
Unless they make you try to turn.
I don't know what the board will do. The board would have to vote to do what they do. You know,
Why did the board then vote today?
That would be a vote of the
And
board.
they wait until you don't do it. My board turned out right there, failed. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was
Personally,
working in court services at the time.
I don't think that
Walked out the intersection.
that gets it. I think if you read the statute, the Secretary of State has not prescribed a form for the appointment to Central Committee.
Yeah, well, he hasn't prescribed a form for other things either, because 155B is not specific. So people get confused that 156 and 155B are somehow sequential forms. They're not. 155B is separate.
Second day driving
But,
to UC.
so anyway,
There's a
so
separate
your
form
intent is
for
going to be
elections.
to issue a denial. So
Well,
then somebody would do
there's
like a
nothing-
mandamus act to get their
He
certificate.
wasn't hurt.
Right, so my point is, it's just
Yeah, well, that's
stupid.
what she goes
Why are
to.
people afraid of issuing a certificate if there's no issue with the certificates being issued?
Right, you get
And it's legal, why
Is
there a fear
Is
of?
this camera still on?
Yes, it is.
Well, it could be off because the meeting's over.
No, it can't, because, there's no expectation of privacy in this room right now,
Well,
so.
expectation of this privacy.
So
Do I need
That's
to
not
be here on the
constitutional. Need to
9th, or
go.
does anybody need to be here on the 9th? I mean,
You're welcome to be, but you don't need to be.
okay. I mean, I don't, I mean, is there a rule that you have to have someone watch it or anything like that? Okay.
No, but if you'd like to be here.
Well, this was written, don't get me wrong.
Like watching paint dry.
We can do the test deck again.
Yeah, you wanna go watch the test deck again?
I'll do what council tells me to do.